The clock is ticking and the Rings of Prime Season 2 is approaching, and there are still many things that Amazon can mess up. What exactly are they going to be? Let's find out. Hi everybody, and welcome to yet another video. Oh, the time flies by so fast, doesn't it, my dear friends? That only means one thing, well, among many others, the fact that the arrival of the second season of the abhorrent TV show The Rings of Prime is approaching with tremendous speed, and soon there shall be many a video and many an article by, well, very questionable beings on the internet predicting things and talking about it and shilling the show to the heavens themselves, because of course they will expect bags of tchotchkes, invitations to early screenings of the first episodes, and basically the same things that those biggest chills got and acquired before the first season came out. Let me be a little bit of ahead again and provide you with my predictions, my dear friends. If you remember, if you've followed my channel for quite some time, one of my first video on this particular channel was named something like Why the Lord of the Rings by Amazon Will Fail, and each and every single prediction that I made in that particular video came true. So let me now do the same thing with the second season, and once the second season comes out, I shall point you to this video and we shall see if I was correct or not. I will mostly refer to those things that have already been uttered and said by the executives and by the directors and by the screenwriters of that show, as far as why the second season, according to them, will be better than the first one, and why it will fix, quote-unquote, the first one, and why it shall be praised by both the normies and Tolkien fans. Now, of course, this is absolute nonsense, and it can't happen. The way they have established their entire lore with the first season does not allow them to make the second season better in any way. We know already that all that the Rings of Prime is that it is a 100% construct, a completely constructed, completely made up by Amazon, which has nothing to do with anything that Professor Tolkien wrote. All they did was they took a name here and there from the appendices to The Lord of the Rings, a couple of chapters worth of notes at the end of the book. They took a name here and there, and then they built an entire lore about them. Now, this is only the minority of the story, of course. The majority is being made by, or of, the original characters, new characters that have never appeared in Tolkien, and he has never ever whatsoever created them, such as Arondir, I will mention Halbrand because he is an original character, even though it was revealed in the end of the season that he was Sauron. And then, of course, Disa, who only appeared as in a different form as a name in the appendices as Dis, the mother of Cillian Feely, so she's got nothing to do with that character. And then, the King Durin here, who of course has still got a living father in the show, who, well, was in the book in a family tree again, as well as his son. And as we know, the dwarves, they never had two Durins living at the same time, because they believe that each and every single Durin is a reincarnation of the original Durin, one of the fathers of the dwarves. And we've got Theo and the female healer, Bronwyn, or whatever her name is, and all these characters that are absolutely unlikable and in many cases unmemorable. One last one that I will mention is the completely and absolutely made-up Elendil's daughter, whose name I forgot, because she's never existed, and she shouldn't exist. So, if you continue with these characters, how can you possibly expect any Tolkien fan to be satisfied with the show, when all you do is, well, not Tolkienian, quote-unquote, stuff? And then, of course, we've got the the people who are missing from the show that people expected and that you only hinted upon, my dear Amazon. For example, Celeborn, to whom you've hinted many a time, and in the show once, when Galadriel was talking about him, that she saw him for the last time when he left her for a battle, and that he was clad in a silver armor, and it didn't fit him, so he was a silver clam, and Galadriel laughed at him. She mocked him. She mocked her own husband. So, as we know from the Silmarillion, and from the Unfinished Tales, and also from the appendices to Lord of the Rings, Galadriel and Celeborn, they rarely ever left each other's side, and they were basically together throughout the entire of the Second Age. Although they were separated for a little bit when they had to cross the Misty Mountains, but that was only a minority of the time, of course. So apparently Celeborn is going to be in the show, and when you treated the characters of Galadriel so poorly, and also Elrond, and also King Gil-galad, how can anybody expect that you will treat Celeborn differently? No. Each and every single character from the book that will appear in the show will have and will receive the same treatment as the characters that you have already desecrated. And that is one of those points that they are bringing up. Oh, we are going to be more lore accurate. You have never been lore accurate. How can you be lore accurate now? The way you have established your entire lore is that you have created your own lore, the Amazon lore. Mordor was created, according to Amazon, by a turn of a key. And then a dam was broken, and water flew into a volcano. And the volcano erupted, and Mordor was suddenly created in the middle of the Second Age, instead of being created by Morgoth at the very beginning. And so also, you've got the origin of Mithril, that apparently, according to Amazon once again, contains the light of the last Silmarils, and is kind of a life potion to elves and leaves. I mean, those are things that cannot even be considered to be episode fillers. You have episode fillers to just move on with the time, and you do not move the time in the episodes by those fillers. You make them longer because you prolong our suffering. So, if you really expect us to believe that the other 15 hours or whatever it's going to be in the second season are going to be less painful than the whatever hours it was in the first season, no, you haven't been paying attention. And there's another thing. You've got the fact that you suddenly want to be more lore accurate. How can you be more lore accurate? How can you even connect? How can you, Amazon, even connect your alternative reality of an effed up Middle-earth with what came later in The Lord of the Rings, in The Hobbit, in the following events of Tolkien's world? How can you connect all this, knowing that you have built your entire show on your own characters? And now let me explain. Because those characters that you have created, like Arondir or Bronwyn, Theo, they have and they will perform seemingly great and big deeds in your show. And there will also supposedly be a huge battle at the ending of, or somewhere in the second season, like 2-episode long battle, in which Arondir will of course have a great role. How can you now say that those characters lived and performed great deeds and never were written in the history of Middle-earth, and nobody has ever mentioned them later? See, if you want to connect these two things, you have a huge continuity problem, you have a huge continuity hole, but that show has been and is a huge mistake from the get-go, from the very beginning. And those are only hints, those are only mentions, this is only a grain of salt, or a grain of sand that I mentioned right now, in the dune, in the desert of mistakes that Amazon has been doing, does, and will be doing. So my prediction is that the show will be worse than the first season. The crimes against Tolkien's lore will be even greater. And that no matter how many Tolkien's characters they choose to reveal, they choose to add, it will always mainly be revolved around original characters, or characters that, well, are original anyway, even if they come from Tolkien's lore, because they have been changed so much that they are unrecognizable from the original characters that Tolkien created. So my prediction is that the Rings of Prime Season 2 will be even greater construct, will be even more mediocre of a fantasy show created by a multi-billion corporation in the attempt to get a lot of money. It will have no soul. It will be slow and mediocre and cringy, standing on its own by itself. And in any connection with Professor Tolkien, it is going to be a desecration. Alright then, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And that will be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.